we summarize 4 steps of creating a data dashboard. The first one is to make sure that your data is clean and ready to use. And while she's distributing the handouts, I'm going to explain what each row means. So we have the unique ID number for the first column, and also different programs, different continents, and ethnicity. Also year from 2018 to 2021. Also, we have different program types: service learning, internship, and language, and also different language for in a study country, whether it's English speaking or non-English speaking, the gender, the major, and the STEM or non-STEM, and also satisfaction rating. We have from 1 to 10. That's the range, and also cost. Cost is the cost to the students. One thing I want you to pay attention here is that the cost we already formatted as currency. So if you're doing a data dashboard, you want to make sure the format of your data is correct in the beginning, so that later on you don't have to do the extras. The first thing we want to do here, make sure your data is stored in the tabular format, which is each person stored in each row and each column stored in each variable stored in each column. That's kind of the data we have here ready to use. And the first thing I want to do is make sure my data is stored in a table format, so that later on, if I want to update the data, it will do it automatically in the data section. So how to do it as a table? You select one of the cell of the data on Excel, and then you go to the Insert tab here. In the Insert tab, we have the table option here, and then you click on the table. And once you click on the table, it will give you the range. Make sure you check whether the range is correct or not. So here is 1, and then we have 100%. So the data range is 1, and also my data has headers. So this is all correct. Click OK, and you can see that my data become a table. The next thing, this is kind of the very first step, and we're going to do exercise after after the second step. We will have charts to do, and then you will have enough time to work on this. And also you will have the handout give you the instructions. So the second step we're going to do here is create pivot chart and a pivot table together. Pivot table and a pivot chart is kind of a combined step together. I want to introduce you kind of what's the function of pivot table. It is a great way to summarize and analyze the data by categories and groups that you're interested in. For example, we could have how many people in each of the STEM or non-STEM major, or how many people in different ethnicity groups. And you can do that with pivot table. And also pivot table, you can do different layers of summarization. For example, within each gender group, how was ethnicity distribution looks like. And also you can do a by table, adding the different variables to the columns to do a contrast. And we will do an exercise later on. So let's start with our first pivot table and a pivot chart. So I'm going to select one of the cell here. And also you can see that my table has a name, table 1. Just want to point that out to you. We can go to Insert and go to the first one, Pivot Table. And then you can see that we have the table range, which is table 1. And also I want to start in a new worksheet so that I don't mess up with the organizations. Okay. So the first chart that I like to create is ethnicity. As you can see here, I want to create the easiest one first. This is ethnicity. We're going to do this one first. This is the pivot table section. And once you drag the variables from here to this view settings, the pivot chart will appear. So I'm going to drag an ethnicity to rows. And then you can see different row labels here. And I want the count of each group. So I'm just drag ethnicity to values. Since ethnicity is stored as a character variable here, so the count will appear automatically. And now we have a pivot table. And the next thing we're going to do is to kind of changing the format of your table. I like my table in descending order, so I'm going to use the row label drop-down menu to add more sort options. And I'm going to make it descending by count. You don't have to do this if you don't have a preference. And then the next step is from pivot table to pivot chart. So we can select the pivot table. Just one cell is fine. We go to the pivot table tools section, go to the Analyze tab. And then we could do pivot chart. So here is kind of a variance between Mac and PC. For Mac, you will have a selection, select which chart you like, but for this is for PC. But for Mac, it will give you a column chart automatically. Okay, so now we have a pivot chart here. Another thing that I want to hide from the chart is the field buttons here and here. This kind of mess up with your format later on when you do the data dashboard. So I will usually hide it after I did the chart. So you select one of the field button down like here, and then you right click, select hide all field buttons on chart. And then you can hide the field buttons. For Mac, you don't have this issue because that's kind of, they did it already for you. And this is the, so this is the first chart we're going to do in the exercise, or you can just follow me along to do this. And the second chart I like to show you is, last step, I want to rename my sheet. So later on, when I do the assembly, it's easier for me to find. The next chart that I like to do is the bar chart for this one, for the program types, this one. So the reason that I like it as a bar chart because it has long labels. And I want to show it in this side, so I like it as a bar chart. So next step, we're going to kind of repeat the same process. We go to the data sheet and then select one of the cell. We go to Insert tab, go to Pivot Table, and then this is all correct. I'm going to click OK. So here we have Pivot Table 2. And the program tab is the variable of interest. It's similar process. You drag to the row. It will give you the row labels of each group. And then you drag to the values. And it will give you the count. And then the next thing is kind of similar to, we go to pivot chart. And then I want to choose the bar chart here. You click OK. So for Mike here, once you have the pivot chart here, you go to the design. And then you change chart type, you select bar chart. Okay. And then the last thing I like to do is to hide the field buttons. Okay. And for the data visualizations, we can do it in the last step. So I'm not going to do that now. Just use the automatic produce chart. Kind of the similar process. Okay, I think, and now we will have our first exercise. And the goal that for the first exercise is to finish the first column chart for ethnicity and the bar chart for programming type. And this one is kind of you work on your own for the STEM or non-STEM. It's all about the counts, so you don't have to do any modifications on there. I think 5 minutes would be enough. Yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Okay, I think we're all done with the bar chart and the column charts, right? Okay, I saw them nodding, great. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is how to do the line charts, which is probably already know. I'm just going to kind of demonstrate, probably a little bit quicker. So doing a pivot chart is kind of a similar process. You have to start from the insert tab and then pivot table. Make sure everything is correct here. Click OK. And then in the new worksheet, we are going to do satisfaction. So satisfaction is kind of different, that you have to pay attention to the values. So I'm dragging the satisfaction here. And also I want the satisfaction by year. That's kind of the function of row. Dragging the by year here, and then we will have satisfaction separated by different years. And then for the values, I want to change it. The sum usually doesn't make sense unless it's the sales or money. So I'm going to change it to average. You click on the sum of the satisfaction. It should be the triangle button here. You will see value field settings. And then here you select average. And then click OK. And then you should have the average of the satisfaction over years. And one thing I want to point out here is that you know this is kind of multiple decimal points. This format will follow to the pivot chart once we add in the data labels. So one thing, good practice here is to select them and format them. You can do right click on format cells and then the number, and then we are going to do 1 decimal point. Okay, so this is kind of what I would like. The next step is doing the pivot chart. Select one of the pivot table and then go to analyze and then select pivot chart. I'm going to select the lines here. I usually like to have the markers selected. I like this one, line with markers. So click OK. And the similar process, I usually hide all field buttons on chart. And so this is the first line chart we need to make. And after the line chart, the next one that we are going to need to make is a number chart. And after the instruction on the number chart, I will give you time to work on the 2 line charts and the number charts together. Okay, so how do we do a number chart? A number chart is something that usually Excel won't give you automatically, and we have to do some trick. So for the number chart, we start with doing a pivot table. We go to the insert tab, we go to the pivot table, and then I want the count of unique ID. So I'll just drag the ID to the values here. Because I don't need to separate by groups, so I'll just do the ID. And then just showed you before, change the value field settings to count. So it will have count of ID. And in the custom name, you can change it to the table header you like. I will do total participants here. So you will have a pivot table with a customized header. And once we have this formatted table, the thing that we can do for the pivot chart is about makeup, how we kind of doing some of the formattings, fonts and color to make it look like a chart. And how should we do that? So I will copy this table. You can Control plus C, or you can just copy it. And then go to the dashboard page down here. And one thing about copy paste in Excel, you have to select the cell or the locations you like first. Otherwise, it will just mess up the layout later on. So I kind of know that the dashboard, the number chart will probably be here. So I'll put down here. And I will paste it here. I probably didn't copy all things together. Okay. Copy. And paste. So now once I paste here, you notice that this section is a pivot table field list is here. So I know that I copied it still as a pivot table because later on we want the same kind of pivot table to make connections between different charts. So now we have the pivot table here. The first thing I'm going to do is clear the chart design, the table design. So select this pivot table here, and we go to design. We go to the first one, which says none, and then you click this one. The design will be disappeared. And to make it like a chart, we're going to fill it with the theme color like this. So once you select this pivot table, you go to the pivot table tools. It will have analyze, it will have design here. You have design, and it says pivot table styles. Okay, back. Okay, and then I'm going to make this one larger. So I'm going to change the width of this cell. Okay. Probably this is large enough, and change the font to match the theme font color. And also for this one, the header, going to do some similar makeup modification. Okay. And I want it off center. Okay. And now you can see that it's kind of similar to the line number charts. The only thing we have here is a thin line. That's the border of the table. So I'm going to select the table again. I'm going to the border option here, and I'm going to select no border. So it will look like a number chart here. So now we will have 5 minutes for exercise. You will do the 2 line charts, 1 line chart for satisfaction and 1 line chart for cost, and also the number chart. So it will be a line chart like this, and another line chart like this, and then also the number chart. Yes. Okay, I think we're all done here, right? Finish all the line charts and also the number chart. This is kind of the last step of building a data dashboard, which is assembling the dashboard. Yeah, I think what else? Yeah, last step of building a data dashboard is to assemble all the charts on the dashboard page, and then do the slicers. By the way, the instructions might not be exactly the same as the handout, but the handout is a way to help you to finish the exercise. Okay, so for the dashboard assembling, I'm going to copy paste all the charts to the locations that I like. So for the ethnicity, I haven't done that for this one yet, but I can do it later. So I will just copy my charts to the locations that I like. And for the next one, I'm going to do is the stem or non-stem. Copy the paste. And one thing I want you to pay attention is you have to select the cell for the locations, otherwise it will just override other charts. And then type. It's probably here, or here. And then the line charts, one is satisfaction. Probably here. The last one is the cost.
Can you repeat that one more time? You said you did activity first, and then what was that?
STEM. Yes.
So whenever you say you want to make an update to the data in the sheet, you still have to copy the newly updated chart to the dashboard, right?
If you already have the dashboard ready, if you want to update a new year of data,
Yeah.
and then we can cover it now. Once you have the data here, you can just copy the new data to the previous data you have, and once you have it, should be automatically here. And the thing you need to do is go to the data and then refresh all. Yeah, since I'm going to do other things here, so I'm not going to copy that, but you can do it once you have it. Slicer is something that, oh, sorry. So the things that you have to copy and paste all your charts to the dashboard first, and then you can do the slicer. If you do the slicer first, it will not connect all the charts. It just has no connections when you do the report correction. So you have to copy all the charts to the dashboard first, all the charts you need. Once you have all the charts you need here, and we can do the most important thing of a dashboard, which is the slicer, make the dashboard more interactive. The function of slicer is to kind of give you the disaggregation or give you separate values of a data dashboard, like what I did here. This is what we are going to add. But what kind of slicer you like is really depending on your context. The context we have here is that the program leadership wants to know how different programs perform over years, and also whether the language of the country is a deciding factor for students to participate in this program. For example, if you go to France, I think this is kind of because I did the refresh part, so this kind of one missing. Yeah, the thing is about presentations, everything went smoothly when you are practicing, and there will always something wrong when you're doing the real thing. So it can kind of give you the idea of that. I'm going to demonstrate how to add slicer here. So we have all the charts ready. Your field buttons should be all hidden by now, but let's go to insert tab, and we can have add slicers. And when we do, I want program here, and also I want language here. So click OK. So at this moment, if you're doing the slicer, it's only connected to this one because only connect to one chart. The thing that I would like to do is clear all the filter here. And I right click on one of the slicer, and I go to report connections. You want to click connect all the charts together. It should be showing here. So the first one is appear here is cost. I want the count, and also the dashboard, the pivot table 3 on the dashboard should be the number chart you have, and also ethnicity, satisfaction, STEM, basically all the charts. I want all them all connect together. And I will repeat the same process for the slicer. Do the right click and report connections. And I will connect all the charts and tables together. Okay. there, here we go. Let me try out that. So yeah, if I'm doing this, one thing I want to emphasize is, as you can see here, going to Australia is actually quite expensive, but going to France is almost a quarter of the price. Something that you can show to your stakeholders. For us, I would think maybe in the next upcoming year, we would probably give more resource to the France program, so the students have more affordable education. One thing that I want to emphasize is probably for the number charts. Another thing you want to make sure here is you can right-click on the number chart and pivot table option. Make sure that you don't have the auto feed column checked. You want to uncheck the auto feed column with update, so that your number chart, the size of the number chart stays consistently. I think this is kind of the final step before the final step. So once you have this ready, you can play around with the assembling process or the organization of the layout of your data dashboard. I'm just going to give you kind of one demonstration of how to apply the data visualization principles here. So I want to do for the ethnicity part, I'm going to do the subtraction first. I'm going to remove the title first, maybe. I'm going to remove the legend first. I don't need that because I only have one group and it's already separated by different groups. And remove the gray line. This is the subtraction we have here. And I'm going to add a data label here. I like a data label here to the above. And this is a message that I like to deliver to the stakeholder. I already have one, so I'm just going to copy paste here. So we think that the study program should probably offer more opportunity to minority students, probably give them some scholarship or other financial resources that we could offer, just to make it accessible to everyone and make it more inclusive.
When you're thinking about data visualization and in dashboard, not all of them apply. Why? Because they're interactive. Data visualization is one snapshot. So be very careful with your title. It has to be something that applies to every situation. So really read your data, dig it in, and find something that is generic, like general enough to apply. Don't put a title just based on your data, because the title doesn't change. Title stays the same regardless of data. So just for that, since we're talking about title, that part, make sure that whatever you put in there is going to apply when people actually put down.
Yeah, and the last thing about the makeup process, if you want to do the layout, kind of what we did here, give it different sections. Or give it here like this color is very simple to do. We'll go to the dashboard we have here. I'm gonna make it smaller so that you can see how I do this. We can go to insert here and go to shapes. I'm going to select the square shapes here. Drag the shapes that I want to probably cover like a frame, like this big. And then I'm going to bring it to the back. Right click on the shape and then bring to front. I'm going to send it to back. Okay, and then you will have the shapes here, and also you can put some of the headers here as well. I think we have student characteristic. So I think that's pretty much about today. And if you have time, we can stay here to do more exercise on the makeups. But otherwise, I really appreciate your engagement and effort for coming to the workshop on the last day. Anyway, thank you again, and I hope you to have a safe trip home. Thank you.